think we always end up on this side of outrage that people won't work together. But I think we've seen, again, we're really laying most of this conversation about on U.S. politics for outrage, and so this Canada is very different, Italy is very different. They all have their own issues, but the U.S. is the most extreme. I you know. I don't want to say fun, but like it's more interesting to talk about all the drama that happens in the U.S. But yeah, the idea is that like I see a lot of people on the left trying to work with the right, but it's not the conservatives of the 1970s or the 1980s. Like not even Reagan's conservatives are around in the party today. So the idea is like it's mostly being run by a very Christian nationalist party that they don't want to work together. They would like a theocracy. They would like very specific rules that control how people live their lives and have sex and what they watch and what they do, and it's very, very controlled. And and so I think it's very difficult to work with that side because you don't have a side that is willing to flex on everything, on anything. So and if it's run by Trump, he doesn't want to give anybody a win ever because he wants to be the one to win. To your point, and yeah, I think it's really sad that like you said, winning means hurting the other side, and I think unfortunately, if there's another Trump presidency, I think from the policies he said, there's a lot of people that right and left that are going to be hurt from how he's going to run the country, and it's going to be sad. I don't want to see the other side suffer. I don't openly want to see people suffer. I hope that there could be a government that would help people live better lives in the middle. Like the U.S. kind of created this idea of the middle class. I think that's the saddest thing in all of this. So like, and to be honest, as we wrap up here, I want to be respectful of your time. I'd rather leave on sadness than outrage in this because I think we have so much time to be outraged for so many things. I think I'd rather ground myself in empathy for people that are end up hurting by some of these policies. And yeah, I guess a way to leave on, like, have you found any salves for this idea of outrage? Like, because none of us want to feel like that. I'm sure the people that are the most outraged, that maybe political we would disagree on, again, it's a difficult state of being to be in, that because you're fighting with probably family members. You're always in this state of anger. Like, what things would you offer to some of the people listening that maybe can help them emotionally come down from that state of aggression, outrage? I don't know, however you'd want to categorize it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, one of the one of the sort of things that comes up a lot is that some of these things seem either trite or like, oh, that's just mumbo jumbo, psychology mumbo jumbo. But I mean, some of these things actually do make a difference, right? So you talk about mindfulness, right? So just trying to be mindful of your own emotions, trying to be mindful of the things, that ways people are trying to manipulate you. Like we talked a little bit about that before.
Right.
Other things. I mean, just getting exercise, getting outdoors, getting sunshine, and and limiting your news consumption or managing it better, like picking times, picking limits on how long you'll spend on it. Maybe this week, instead of going wide and reading news across the board, I'm going to go deep on one subject, and I'll spend most of my
Right.
energy focusing on that one subject. So I think some of those little tricks and habits can help. Um, and I think another big one is sleep, right? So come up with a
Right.
sleep habit, right? Come up with a way, get in a habit, some kind of a habit where you're starting to roll off of devices. You're putting the devices away or putting them in sleep mode. You're not scrolling. You're not doom scrolling in bed. You're kind of preparing to go to sleep and trying to get a good night's sleep. And that might mean, making your room darker, making your room cooler. Like I say, not doom scrolling in bed. And these are all things
Yeah.
we kind of have a hard time doing. Like, this is all dumb little stuff, but it really it really does make a difference. And I think the biggest one is just that being more mindful about your news consumption and your interactions as well, right? Just if you're going to do social media, um, you know, double check, double check your tweet. I think a big thing, that a tool that we could all use, is some kind of a tool that, like, as we begin to hit the send button, or when we hit the send button, it kind of does hey, this is how, people on the right would interpret this way, people on the left this way, or this and that. This could trigger this, and you could end up here. And you go, do you still want to do it? Or do you want to reword it?
Yeah.
Here's some options for rewording it, or something like that. I think that kind of stuff
Right.
could help a lot, because the sacrifice you pay in the long term for that little bump of a couple of likes and shares isn't worth it.
Right. Yeah. If because I've been thinking about that question throughout this conversation, and two things come to mind for me is one, I think people in general should be more aware of what kind of experience do you want the people you love in your life to have of you. And that doesn't mean that you have to agree with them. It doesn't mean you have to roll over to what they're saying. But at the end of the day, if we can acknowledge that, like, I love these people, these are my friends, these are my family. What experience do I want them to leave this interaction with? Like, do I want them to leave and be like, this person was yelling at me for half of this conversation. This person called me a name and called me stupid, or whatever. Or is, oh, there's John. We don't agree politically, but he's a great friend, or he's a great he's a great cousin, or whatever. I think, maybe if we accept that we don't want to ruin our relationships, that maybe that could help. And also, like something we said we valued before this call, and how important curiosity is, and just be willing to read another side of an opinion. And if your opinion is so fragile that if you watch one video from one person you disagree with and it'll crumble, well, maybe that was an opinion worth having. And so these are things that I try to think about when I get ragey on things, and it helps really cool me down. So I appreciate, David, you coming on and discussing this topic. I could go on for a while. I think we both have so many opinions for how we've dealt with these things individually. So I appreciate your perspective on a lot of these topics.
Yeah, well, thank you so much. I mean, I'll add one quick thing to that focusing a little bit more on yourself and your side can really make a difference. Like, try to point out when your side's manipulating you, or maybe not, maybe giving you framing a situation worse than it could be, and things like that. I think it's
Right.
so easy to put all our energy in the other side is the problem, that we often don't. Um, aren't as aware when we're participating in it. So that's another, I think, a place where we could all put more energy in looking at our own side, looking inwardly, looking in the mirror. And those are hard things to
Mm,
do. Everyone talks to me and wants to know a magic secret for how you can talk across aisles and all that kind of stuff. And it's really hard. Even people that are trained, I've had various kinds of training, and it's
mm,
especially hard when it's somebody in your family and somebody you love, right? All that training can
sure.
go out the window in 2 seconds once they push a few buttons, right? So,
Right.
there's no magic for that. I mean, there's no magic for that. The best thing is just like you said, curiosity, genuine curiosity, and maybe focus on listening, and don't go into an argument or a conversation thinking you're going to change anyone's mind. Sometimes I recommend, if you're going to have those kind of conversations, go in with a sort of a detective mindset. Let's try to discover why let's go on the journey together with our mission of trying to understand why we see this differently, rather than I need
Right.
to win and you need to lose kind of thing.